So we first filed a request about 3 years ago because we realised that no one had actually asked for this information, and to correct what the Commission spokesperson said in the conference this morning, the information isn't actually available. We used the equivalent of the EU's equivalent of the British Freedom of Information Act, and we asked for this. We got some total numbers at first, but there was a reluctance to give us the details of the expenditure. So we've had quite a sort of battle to and fro, trying to use arguments as to why we should be given this. And finally, we've been given the expenses for the first 2 months of 2016. We asked for more than that. We asked for in fact, 120 requesters from across Europe asked for the expenses for all of 2016.
OK, well, John Redwood, are you shocked at what we've seen? So let's take, I mean, we've got the private jet to Italy. There was a 77,000 bill for the Foreign Affairs representative to get to summits. Now, does that shock you?
Well, it doesn't shock me because I suspected this was going on all along. I remember when I was a minister negotiating for Britain all those years ago, I used to go on the normal public transport plane at normal fare, but there were all sorts of executive jets on the tarmac, including ones for commissioners. So it doesn't surprise me they're running up these very big bills. And all the time, British taxpayers are helping pay for those bills, as we will until we leave. It is a matter of concern, and obviously I think they should be as transparent as the United Kingdom government rightly has to be in telling people where the money is spent and why it's spent.
Helen, were you shocked when you saw the figures? Only the 2 months, obviously. We don't know whether those were high months or low months. We have to just sort of guess that. But did you think the figures looked very high?
No, I don't think that they're that high, actually. In fact, I did a comparison with David Cameron's expenditure for the same period, and whereas for the commissioners the average mission expense is about £1,500, David Cameron's comes out 3 times that much at about £4,500 per mission. Theresa May's for the first 2 months of 2017 come out at over £6,000 per mission. And I think that it's really important to keep a perspective here. I don't know how many people have asked themselves, for example, how much did Theresa May's trip to visit Donald Trump cost? Well, it cost about £43,000, and it includes taking, maybe not private jets, but taking an RAF plane for which the British government, the British taxpayer, has to pay. So these expenses are really quite reasonable and in line with what we would be expecting government officials around Europe to be paying for similar kinds of trips.
John Redwood, is that fair then? Because actually, yeah, I mean, the British ministers do fly on RAF planes, don't they? If there isn't a convenient scheduled flight, they go to Northolt and they jump on a government plane.
Well, I don't think it's at all a fair comparison to take a head of state or government and compare that with a commissioner. A commissioner is a senior official of the European Union. The heads of state and heads of government are the senior people in the European Union, and we don't send our senior officials or most of our ministers around on anything other than public transport flights at normal fares that everybody else pays. But it's not a major item. I think the bigger item is the lack of transparency and the fact that these are very big budgets. And we are having to pay a lot of money for them, and one of the main reasons a lot of people voted to leave the European Union is we want that money back because we are desperate for that money for our hospitals, our social care, other things where we would like to spend more. And the sooner we're out, the sooner we can get that money back. And it's very important that we don't go on paying for all this kind of thing the day after we've left.
Yeah. I mean, Helen, obviously this is going to get into the Brexit debate, isn't it? I mean, because I think most people will tend to feel, whatever the figures they see, those figures are very high. They may hear you saying, actually, that's normal government business. But people will look at this and say, you just never need to take a private jet. Just go the next day if there isn't a scheduled flight for the day you need to go.
I think that the question of the amounts, it's really a very small amount. It's about £90,000 per country that's been contributed to the costs of these travel expenses. And there haven't been that many private jets used, so we see a lot of ordinary planes being taken as well. I do agree that the transparency issue is a very important one, and I think it is unfortunate that the Commission didn't make this information public sooner, because it is this kind of lack of transparency which can lead to a rather skewed debate about what's actually the European does, its value, and the way it is working within actually pretty reasonable budgets, to do everything that it does. So what we're doing now from Access Info Europe is we're calling on the Commission to step up and make public all of this information,
Helen?
to put it online proactively, so that any European citizen can check and see how much is really being spent.
And as the British government does. Helen Darbishire and John Redwood, thanks both very much.